Hey guys, so Japanese summer, it's been about 35 degrees and about 50% humidity all day today, and the sun's just going down, so finally it's sort of cooling down a little bit. Can you hear the birds? Beautiful, isn't it? So today's video, it's another heads up video for our How to Do Stuff in Japan playlist, and it was triggered by a video we made recently showing you, very brief video, showing you the water park and how the people had all sort of flocked together, very close together where they were sitting down, and the floor above was pretty much empty except for us and a couple other strange people. So that and another video we made years ago, we'd been at the river in the middle of the countryside, sitting by the river and having a picnic, and some people came along and sat down. Some of you might remember the video. I could have touched the guy on his back. We're sitting on some sort of steps that went down to the river, and they'd sat down on the step below us. Right? A whole river out in the countryside, kilometres around, they could have sat right beside us. So that's triggered this video. So some of you might remember years ago a video, contradictions and paradoxes in Japan. They abound. There are many of them, and this is another example of that. For example, Japanese people usually don't touch each other or touch other people. Usually people bow to each other and that's it. There's no shaking hands, there's no hugs and kisses and touching and anything like that. Very, very rare. Even within families. We've had grandparents come to see us off at the airport when we've gone back to Australia for a holiday, and it's sort of like, see you later, bow, and off they go, right? Same when you come back. So, with exceptions, but that usually is the case. Japanese people avoid touching each other. However, when people are together in groups or in public, in numbers of people, it's a totally different thing. It's sort of like, it's the hive mentality again. Some of you might have seen that video we made a long time ago about the hive thinking like bees or ants or something, where, and this isn't meant to be insulting, it's just an observation that behaving as a group, and that results in this. So for example, at that water park, people would have come along and gone, okay, oh, this is where we're sitting. This is where people are sitting. Okay, so we'll sit here. We'll find a space. That spot, that place got fuller and fuller as the day went on as well. And slowly there were no spaces left. It just got really, really full. And any little space, people would sit down in it. And everybody accepts that's normal. So the people that do it think that that's normal. And the people who are already sitting there, they'll be sitting there and other people will come down and sit right beside them, so that their little sheet, everybody has these little sheets that they sit on, little plastic sheets or little blanket type things, and they'll be almost touching each other. And for them it's normal. And same with people at the river. See, people at the river came along and they're looking for somewhere to sit down, and they've seen us sitting there, and their natural reaction would be, oh, this is the place to sit, right? So they sit down next to us. Right? There's no sort of thinking about, well, is there a better place that we'd like to sit or anything like that. It's sort of like the natural reaction was, oh, this is where we are sitting. Okay, this is where people are sitting, so this is where we'll sit. And it's a natural reaction. What just came to mind then was another business thing. We've showed you the people queuing to go into restaurants here, and they'll queue for hours to go into a restaurant, you know, and a reaction from someone who's not Japanese might be, oh, look at the queue, let's go somewhere else. But the Japanese reaction is, oh, they're queuing, let's go queue, it must be good, let's go queue. And it's a natural reaction. And then in queues, people stand really close, really, really close. I've stood in queues at the convenience store before, waiting for the register, and I've had guys standing right behind me, so I can actually feel them breathing, and just about feel them touching me right behind, and just sort of shift one foot back just out of curiosity to see how close they are, and touch their foot. So the front of their foot is literally, you know, this this far from the back of my foot. So they're right behind me, standing really close, with no reason to either, by the way. I've been in convenience stores where there was only one other person waiting behind me, and he stood really close like that. It's just their natural thing. It's not aggressive. It's the same as driving the car. You'll drive the car out here through the rice fields, and and someone will come along and drive right behind you, really close, right behind you, and then you pull up at a traffic light out here. There are actually traffic lights out here, and you pull up at a traffic light out here, and they'll pull up right behind you, really close. And it's not aggressive usually. Usually it's not aggressive. It's just their natural reaction that, oh, we're waiting here, and they'll just sort of come close. And when we're driving through the countryside, you're out here in the middle of nowhere. There's two cars, you and the other car, and they're right behind you. You know, and same waiting in a queue. They'll be right behind you, really close, really close. Sometimes when they do that, I feel a bit claustrophobic, and I'll sort of move back a little bit and sort of make them move back a bit. Give me some space. It can be really claustrophobic. That's why I'm making this video, is because it will surprise some people how close they actually stand. It's flowing in all these different examples. Another one's buffets or drink bars. If you go to restaurants here, drink bars are really popular. All you can drink bar. So they'll have these soda vending machines and juice machines and coffee machines and all sorts of things, and you go and help yourself. And they will stand so close, you know, either when you're doing it, and someone will be standing right beside you with their shoulder against you as you're making your drink, you know, or if they're waiting, they'll wait really close, really close, and kids will come really close to you all around, and really claustrophobic. And buffets are a bit too much. I've actually found buffets are a bit too much. They really get in shoulder to shoulder and sort of pushing. Old people have a bit of a reputation for actually pushing people in circumstances like that, and they'll sort of push against you to get what they want, you know. And again, it's not really aggressive. They've grown up with this. This has been something that's been normal for them all their lives, so they don't see it as an aggressive thing. They just see it as a normal thing, that we're all doing this is what we're all doing, and they'll sort of shoulder through to get where they want to go, you know. Trains and buses are the same. That image you often see of the station employees pushing passengers into the train, jamming them in and closing the door, that's pretty rare. I've never actually seen that. I've been to Tokyo Station, and I've been to all the big stations, Osaka and Nagoya and all the big stations in Japan. I've never seen that. It does happen, obviously. That's where those images come from, but it's rare, right? But what's real is getting into the train, coming out of the train. You will get old ladies pushing past, and you will get people really close. And then when you get in the train or in the bus, they will stand really close. Queuing on the platform's the same. And again, standing on the platform waiting for the train, huge train platform, right? But they'll stand right behind you or right beside you, really close. And it doesn't seem to bother them. Actually, on the train, I've had old drunken salaryman at 10 o'clock at night put their head on my shoulder. They'll be sitting there shoulder to shoulder with me on the seat and sitting down, and they'll just sort of go to sleep on my shoulder, put their head on my shoulder. I actually had a high school girl do it once. That was less unpleasant, but still odd, you know, to have someone sitting beside you and put their head on your shoulder. And you'll see other people doing it too, leaning against each other and falling asleep on each other and all sorts of stuff, you know, really physically touching each other, you know, and standing up on a busy train, and everyone's sort of pushed in together, and you got people around you. And the salaryman guys are the worst. These old smelly guys that have been out at work all day, and it's 10 o'clock at night, and they've had a couple of beers, and they're all sweaty and smelly and horrible. It's really surprising. It really is surprising when you first experience these things. It can take you, really surprise you, because it's like, well, why are you standing so close to me? And it's really normal. They do it all the time. For people that don't touch each other normally in normal interactions, when it comes to a group like that, they're all in together. It's the hive, right? It's the hive. So I made all these examples. Yeah, buses, trains, cars, cars too. Oh, houses too. Look at that. Look at that. Here we are out in the countryside, and you've got all these rice fields, and then look at the houses over there. See how close they are? And that's normal too. You go right out in the countryside, you go further out than this. We're not that far out, but you go further out than this, and you'll have rice fields as far as the eye can see, and you'll be driving along the road, and then you'll come across 5 houses all close together like that. And that's what they do. You know, this is where we're putting our houses. Boom. Our old farmhouse, some of you guys might have wondered why the farmhouse has such a small piece of land for a farmhouse, and it's because the guy had his tractor there and all his farming stuff, and he used to drive his tractor, you know, a kilometre away to his fields, and that's what those guys do. You know, instead of building their little house in the corner of their farm and having some space and privacy. I mean, whoever owns these rice fields here could put their little house here and, you know, have this outlook and no neighbours. You know, they could do that if they wanted to, but they don't. They put all the houses together. This is where the houses are, and this is where the rice fields are. That's the thing, and they're all close. You know, they're all close to each other. Almost no gardens or anything, just these tiny little blocks, and yet some of those guys will be the people who own all this. Right? So it's what they do. Yeah, don't normally touch each other. Yeah, we are sitting here. Yeah, convenient. So yeah, it will surprise you. It will surprise you when you're used to experiencing, you know, no touching sort of relationships here with the people that you know really well. You know, I've got in-laws and people who I've never touched, right? Almost all of them, we just don't touch. We just greet each other, and even the kids, you know, the kids and their grandparents usually they don't touch each other. The little kids do. But you know, when you're used to that, where there's almost no contact at all, and then all of a sudden, total strangers are all packing in around you, you know, and it is like really claustrophobic, more than you get in most other countries. You know, most other countries, if people actually physically touch you, they'd be going, oh, sorry, you know, and they'd give you a bit more space, but not here. They all sort of jam in together, and they're all quite happy about it. They sort of like it, because we're all doing this together. That's the image. Even though everybody's total strangers, we're all doing this together. See the bird? It really is beautiful out here, isn't it? Anyway, hopefully, again, it's a heads up video. It's just warning people, because stuff like this, if you're not aware of it, and suddenly, you know, your first experience of it in Japan is you're standing at a shop and some guy comes and stands and pushes against you, you know, you might be taken aback. But if you know that that's normal, if you know that that's considered normal here, and when it happens, you just don't react to it. You know, you don't react to it. They don't look at you. That's usually what everybody's sort of fairly robotic. And so when everybody's sort of pushed together, they don't make eye contact. You know, that's almost a topic for another video, that one. People don't make eye contact here very much. So that's how they sort of feel comfortable with it, is they don't look at you. So you're just another body. They're not making eye contact or talking to you while they're touching you. They're just sort of pushing against you, leaning against you, or whatever. So anyway, isn't that beautiful? There you go. So I've got personal space right here, huh? But, you know, and that's another amazing thing about Japan. A lot of people have that image of crowded places, and of course that's true, and that no personal space when you're in the crowds. But it is possible to find yourself in circumstances like this in Japan. It's probably why it's so enjoyable, is that when you're used to being places with other people and being all sort of pushed in together, you know, restaurants and places like that sometimes, old style like izakaya and stuff like that, really jammed in together. How about an onsen? Some of you might have seen that video I made a while ago, stuff I wouldn't do. Imagine going to an onsen with a bunch of old, if you're a male, going to an onsen with a bunch of old Japanese dudes and all being knee to knee in the onsen. There's a no personal space place, you know. Go to an onsen. Did make a video showing the inside an onsen a long time ago, but the guys will sit there, and the ladies too, but separate, and they'll sit there on their tiny little stool, it's about that high, and wash themselves, you know, and it's all public. Everybody can see everybody, you know, and they can all watch each other. No, they don't watch each other, but they're all within eyesight of each other, washing each other, side by side. And then they all go sit in the onsen together. So imagine that. Talk about no personal space. So anyway, that's just a bit of a heads up. Come to Japan, be prepared to get rubbed against by smelly old men and pushed past by little old ladies, and yeah, you'll get it all over the place. And just got to accept it. Don't look at them, don't say anything, there's no need. Unless you actually physically hit somebody, like, you know, push against somebody, you know, of course, sumasen. And again, they wouldn't look at you. If someone did apologise, if someone did actually step on your foot or something, they'd probably say, oh, sumasen, and they probably wouldn't look at you. They probably wouldn't look at you again. They don't like making eye contact. That's probably how they feel more comfortable in that circumstance where everybody's pushed together, because they're not making eye contact with each other. It's just a bunch of bodies, and they're not really looking at anybody. So everyone's sort of pushing against each other and leaning against each other, and someone has to get off the train because it's their stop and they've got to push through everybody, and usually they don't. They put their hand in front of themselves when they do that, and they walk like that. They don't look at anybody. Just push through. So yeah, it will surprise you. It will surprise you if you're not expecting it. Now maybe it won't. Now maybe it won't surprise you. That's the idea of the video. It's a heads up. So anyway, that's enough of that. I might let you see if you can hear the birds. They're a bit far away. Another reason I did this out in the rice fields is if I do it too close to trees at the moment, the cicadas are crazy and just bang, really, really loud. Around the farmhouse at the moment is really, really loud. So out here in the rice fields, cicadas don't like the open space. They like to be around trees and things. So that's why we can't hear them so much. But you'll hear it in the background. But if we did this near trees, right near trees, you wouldn't be able to hear me. Just bah, so loud. If you haven't seen that video, it's called Noisy Creatures or something like that. I made the definitive video about cicadas years ago, and got the full effect. So, but here it's sort of birds, and I'll leave you to enjoy it. More videos coming soon.